Hello, lovelies. Welcome to another episode. Today, I'm so excited to bring to you my good friend Stacy Francis of Francis Financial. She will hook us up today with a wonderful conversation about how to plan your finances with your partner. Not an easy feat. So, we will talk about all the different pillars and main things that you need to have a healthy financial marriage and how to do that seamlessly with your partner so that you're on the same page and both of your needs get met because seemingly partners have different experiences with money, different money blueprints, different needs, different management styles, and so on. And so today we will crack the codes on all of those items so that you could have an amazing plan for your new year or any time that you listen to this to help you set up your finances with your partner in a wonderful collaboration and set yourselves on a good path to your financial success and enjoy your money and work your plan anytime you like. But especially this time of year as we launch into a new year so that you could set up yourselves to have an amazing financial and abundant next year. I look forward to seeing you there. Stay in for a treat. I am so excited to be here today with my very good friend Stacy. I am going to read her bio and then we're going to say hi to Stacy and we're going to have an amazing conversation about money. It's going to be so good. Stacy is the president and CEO of Francis Financial, a fee-only boutique wealth management, financial planning, and divorce financial planning firm dedicated to providing ongoing comprehensive advice for successful individuals, couples, and women in transition, such as divorce or widowhood. She's a certified financial planner, a certified divorce financial analyst, and a certified estate and trust specialist with over 20 years of experience in the financial industry. Stacy's leadership has led Francis Financial to receive recognitions such as Forbes Top Women Health Advisors and USA Today's Best Financial Advisory Firms, and to receive numerous awards annually. She is a rock star. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, Emma. It's great to be here.
I am so happy to have you, and I love your bio, and I love you more than your bio. You're an amazing person. I am so happy to have you here with us today.
Well, this is going to be a great podcast. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do. Should we get started? We go for
Let's
it.
get started.
Let's go for it. So tell me, what are the key strategies that you recommend for couples who are planning their financial future?
You know, it's interesting. I love this topic because I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. But what people don't realize is that I know a whole heck of a lot about what makes a happy, successful marriage work. Number one, I've seen hundreds of divorces, hundreds. So it's very clear the kind of threads that I see often connecting them.
Hmm.
And one of those big threads are issues about money. I am also married for over 20 years to the most wonderful guy out there. And I know that us too, we had challenges.
Hmm.
And so what does it come down to for, successfully planning for your future? Well, the number one thing that I see over and over again is talking about what you want your future to be.
Hmm.
Because the vast majority of us couples, we've got a huge amount on our plate, especially if you have children. You're dividing and conquering. And one
Hopefully.
person might be dealing with the kids and school trips and, you know, medical appointments. The other one might be dealing with all the finances. And while I understand that, this is a domain where both of you need to really be involved in the finances to make sure that your financial plan, the plan that we'll talk about of like what needs to be included, what are the things you need to think about. We'll talk about that. But having you both included, I will tell you, is one of the top secrets to a healthy and financially successful marriage.
I love how you started with that and your suggestion for, hmm, both partners need to be involved in the finances. What a concept, right? And but so first, let me say that a lot of couples don't divide and conquer the rest of the responsibilities, and they create hell because they don't know who's supposed to be in charge of what and who's taking care. I mean, there's just all kinds of things in couples and relationships. So the fact that you even said you might be conquering, dividing and conquering, yes, guys, that's a given. You should be doing that. So that's number one. But number two, we don't want to do that when it comes to finances. Maybe to some extent and in different ways. Maybe we could talk about that as we go in this conversation today. In what ways does it make sense to divide and conquer when it comes to finances, but not in terms of your vision, not in terms of your plan, because you both want to have your minds together on that. You want to be on the same page, right?
Exactly. And getting on the same page is really important. And the other thing I would just say too about couples is that you're combining two people with completely different money DNAs. And knowing that you each may have different hopes and dreams, you also may have different ways of how you feel about money. You may have different ways about how you spend or save money. And that's fine. In fact, I married someone that is the antithesis of me. If I have a dollar, I try and save two. Saving money for me is exciting. Um, my husband, if he has a dollar, he tries to spend two,
Hmm.
and he'll be the first to admit it. So we have very different money personalities. But what has made our marriage work so well, and also what has made our financial plan work so well, is we've each communicated what we need. For me, I need to make sure that whatever dollar amount we're supposed to save each year, that we do it. And that gives me that feeling of safety, of comfort, because for me, saving equals safety.
Right.
And for my husband, he, of course, wants to save money, but for him, he also wants to have experiences.
Mhm.
He loves to go to concerts with my son. He loves to go to Broadway shows. He loves to travel. And bless Emma, he loves gadgets. If anyone ever has a gadget that they need researched, just reach out to me. My husband's a professional
He
at
knows
it,
it.
especially if you're going to buy it and we're not going to buy it. But very important for him then to know like this is the portion that you can spend. And it
Mm,
took us a while to get there, but now we have very clear goals and we can honor what each of us need. And for us, our goals have been set up in three places. We have a retirement goal of when we each want to retire and what our lifestyle is going to look like and cost.
mm,
Number two, we have an education goal for our children of being able to help them, if not ideally pay for everything for college. And number three, a ongoing lifestyle experience goal that's more so for him than me of being able to experience life to the fullest, essentially live as full of life as possible.
I love
And
that.
so we continually talk about that. We check in and update our financial plan at least once a year
Mm,
to see, are we on track? And if not, what do we need to be doing to get us back on track?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like how you're setting up the different DNAs, right? Because what you described is very common, right? There's the two people in the relationship who have very different styles of managing money and their relationship to money and what they think about saving and spending and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is like, yeah, that's what happens in couples, right? And the thing is, okay, so how do we deal with the differences? So I love what you're
Yeah.
describing and knowing what the needs are behind the way that we do money. Like you said, safety for yourself and experiences to living life for him. Knowing that, then that's a different filter than like, why you have to be a penny pincher? Why do you have to like, waste all of our money? Very different than we're taking care of ourselves, our needs, our core needs, and we're collaborating, taking care of each other by having this approach that you're describing. That's so beautiful.
And I appreciate you sharing that. And you know how we got there is we went to therapy.
Perfect. Of course.
right, Emma? Um, we met very, very young. So I was in my early 20s.
Yep.
He was about 3 years older. And we did not have the communication skills that we do today. And so we really had to get some help. And so that's the other thing I would say too. This isn't necessarily easy stuff.
Right.
People's emotions and feelings about money tend to be very strong. And it's because we've been raised to think a certain way. We've had those experiences. And so when we see individuals, couples who have disagreements about money, studies have shown that those agreements about money versus other subjects
Hmm.
tend to be much more
Was it?
confrontational. Kind of
Mm.
bringing out more emotion. They tend to be much harder. And again, just making sure that you have all the tools available. And I will tell you, in addition to therapy, the other thing that has been great for us, Emma, is we go on money dates. And in the beginning, it was pre-children, so it was very nice. We could go out for a nice steak dinner, have a glass of red wine. Don't have too many because the numbers
Yeah.
won't make too much sense if you're on your third. But it was a really wonderful way to see where we're at with our spending, see where we're at with our income, how
Mm.
much progress we've made on our saving goals, and talk about what we want our life to look like.
Yes.
Those were the times where we made decisions about, are we going to have a big trip this year? Or are we going to stay at home, save a little bit more, and do something else? Questions where we would talk about, do we buy a new car? Do we not buy a car?
Right.
Those would all come up in those money dates, and we still continue to have them. We have kids, so they're not quite as fancy as they used to be. They typically tend to be in the morning before the kids have woken up, and Michael and I are sitting at the computer, and maybe we're looking at our financial plan and we're looking at the account balances. But we regularly are checking in about money at least once a month to make sure that we're on the same page. And it has worked wonders for each of us feeling like we're living our best life together, partnered up with a great person.
So good. And I think that you're getting ahead of yourself. You're giving everything away already. So you already have in there the practices that once a year revising the plan, monthly money check-ins to make sure that you're on the right track, that you both know what the numbers are, that you're on the same page about things, they're making the decisions. Love it. These are good practices to make sure that there is a healthy way of doing money in your relationship. Yay.
Definitely, definitely. And I know that right now for a lot of couples, you're feeling the squeeze of inflation. You're feeling the squeeze of higher expense costs when you are going to the grocery store, when you're going to the gas station, for all of those things. But what I want to share about becoming a millionaire,
Mm.
the statistics of who a millionaire is will shock you. So if you feel like there's no hope, I want to just tell you the three most important things about the the characteristics of a millionaire, and then the number one most important behavior.
Perfect.
So the average income of a couple who have put $1 million away is a lot lower than you would expect. It's
Mm.
$131,000 combined income.
Combines income. I am
Yes.
shocked. Wow.
Now, granted, you'll hear in this next statistic, they're probably not living in New York City or LA,
Right.
because their house is worth about 320,000,
Right.
right? Now, the 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 individuals that were actually studied and interviewed for this, when they shared what their actual total net worth was, is it actually was more than a million. The average net worth for them was $3.7 million. And when I say net worth, that means the value of your home, cars, whatever that might be, plus all their investments.
Mm.
So those are the three statistics. And I have to say the first two, quite quite lower, much lower than I expected,
Mhm.
much lower income than I think we all had thought, and a house that's not worth nearly as much as we would expect. You think about someone of that net worth, a much higher net worth than I expected, $3.7 million, would be living in like a McMansion or something, right? They'd
Well,
have a $1
that's
million home, maybe even two.
right. That's the
Well,
thing.
that's not the case.
Mhm.
And what the magic is not only, you know, living in a house that they can afford, but it's this next behavior that makes the most sense.
Mhm.
And that is they invest 20% of their after-tax household income every year.
Nice.
That
That's the
is
answer.
the magic.
Hmm.
And I know that 20% is a huge number, right?
Yeah.
Because on an after-tax basis, that 131,000 that we're talking about, 20%, you're looking at maybe $16,000 a year, $17,000 a year. That's a big number. But these are people who maybe can't do it straight out of the gate, and they slowly are working up to it. But they eventually get there, they do it, they take their money and they invest it. And I just always want to share that with everyone listening because you too can be a millionaire. And I will tell you, we have clients who make this number, live outside the city, New York City, and have been able to put portfolios together of $2 million, even $3 million. And it's because every year they make that happen. They make that savings happen first, and then they construct their life to live on the rest. So really powerful, really important.
Wow, I love that. So for everybody out there who's like, oh, I will never be a millionaire, maybe we need to reconsider that because it's maybe not as hard as we think it is. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to say the other thing too is that I feel like we have our own perception of millionaires.
Yep.
And when we think of millionaires, we think of celebrities, rock stars, actors. And what's really interesting is when you pull back the shades and really see a lot of them actually don't have money, but have this outward persona. And
Yeah.
it's not all people, but I can't tell you, Emma, the number of celebrities that have come and asked to work with us
Hmm.
that we can't work with because they don't reach our $2 million minimum.
That's
People that you know, people that every single one of your listeners know,
hmm.
right? And for them, it's not an income problem,
Right.
right? It's not an income problem at all. It's more of a spending issue.
I love that. Because yeah, people think that they need to make more money. They need to keep going up the ladder in their corporate world, corporate jobs, or if they have a business to, get more revenue, all these different things. And it's not necessarily about making more. You don't have to make that much, as you're saying. And to some people, 120 might be a lot. But still, you said combined. So that's not
Exactly.
a lot. And especially for our audience, for the most part, in people in New York City, that is not a tremendous amount of money. And so that means that could be stretched and made into a significant plan, used for a
Exactly.
significant plan. I love that.
Yeah, and the other thing I will just say too, and I am 100% guilty of this, so I'm just being authentically
Sure.
vulnerable here. You know, when you first get married or make a commitment to be with someone, and you fast forward 20 years, something that often happens to all of us is that as our income increases, what happens to our spending?
Right.
It increases too.
Mm.
And all of you listening, if you could just close your eyes. If you're driving, do not close your eyes. But for those of you who are not, to think back about those early years, right? Or maybe you weren't married or coupled up, but you were just getting out of college and what you managed to live on, right? And how you did it. And most likely, you weren't significantly more unhappy than you are today. right? So it's really, I just think it's so profound that every once in a while, and I have to do this too, is to like check myself
Hmm.
and say, all right, Stace, is this something I really need? And is this just because I have lifestyle creep? And as I'm making more, I'm feeling more comfortable about spending more.
Right. Oh, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, I think that you bring up a good point that people need to decide how important is it for them to be millionaires, if that's the measuring stick here, or how important it is to have a safety nest, a security saving thing, which we're going to go into now, the whole plan thing, or having a lavish lifestyle, or what is a good lifestyle to you and save money, or like a combination of all these things. Like what makes sense for you? What do you want to create in your life? I think that that's the question, and how to make that happen in a way that's reasonable for yourself and
hmm
for your partner, right? So why don't we go into that? So where do people start with creating the vision, the plan, and then what?
So one of the best tools that are available free of charge for all of us is on an online app or account that can actually track your spending for you, can actually track your investments for you. I have no relationship with these different places. These are just accounts, and organizations that I've seen really good feedback from clients. One is called Pocket Expense.
Mm-hmm.
Another is called Good Budget. And the other one is YNAB, You Need a Budget. So these are three. There's actually quite a few more. There's quite a few more. But these are really good ones that we've gotten great feedback on. And like I said, it's going to track your income, what's coming in. It's going to track all your expenditures. It will track your spending. You can even put all of your accounts linked to it. And having that all in one place is very powerful.
Okay, good. So then we're going to watch our spending. We're going to watch how much money we make. We're going to track it all. And then,
And then you're going to make sure that you have all of the building blocks to be financially successful. And
yes,
so the next step that I'd love to just take a few minutes to talk about is setting up that emergency fund.
yes.
I'll explain that. And it's the number one defense you have against falling into credit card debt. So we're going to talk about that. We've talked about how much we're going to save, but the next question is, well, where? Right? Where do I save? What is the best way? Is it a retirement account? Is it an investment account? And number three, how should that money be working for me?
Mm,
Should it be in stocks? Should it be in bonds? Should it be in cash? Should it be in all three? The emergency fund is really, if you can think of emergency fund as the foundation to a house that can withstand a storm or tornado, a hurricane, that foundation is what is going to carry you through the good and bad times of your financial life because we all have them.
yeah.
And an emergency fund is typically 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So that's why those budgeting tools are going to be helpful because you're going to see on average, I'm spending $10,000 a month. Okay, so for a 3-month emergency fund, I'm going to need about 30,000. For a 6-month emergency fund, I'm going to need probably $60,000. And which number that's right for you is really dependent on your circumstances. If there are two of you that are working, then maybe your emergency fund can be the 3 months. Because if God forbid someone loses their job, the other one has a successful income coming in. If there's only one of you working, you might want to err more towards the 6 month. Also, someone who has a W-2 job might be closer to a 3 month. If you are a sole proprietor or an entrepreneur, which we know you too, Emma, our income changes up and down, and it sometimes not even based on our efforts, it just does happen, then maybe you want to be at a 6 month. So these are all things to think about of what that is. Now, where do you want to keep it? Underneath your pillow? The answer is absolutely no. One of the amazing things, Emma, that's going on right now is that interest rates are so high, right?
Hmm.
So you can invest in, and a high interest savings account, a money market account, I looked at the rates today just to kind
5.7.
of see, yeah, over 5%. Okay,
Unheard of. Mm.
mind blown that you can have your money in an FDIC insured money market or savings account and getting 5%. That's like
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't started an emergency fund, now is the absolute perfect time to do that.
Very nice. Very nice. Perfect. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And I love how you set that up in that if you don't, that's how your credit card debt goes up because then you're depending on your credit card to manage emergencies. So this is the way to
Exactly.
prevent that. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. And then you said the investments. So you say here like money markets,
Where do you put it? Like,
ISAs.
where do you put your money? So, um, there are different buckets. There is a taxable individual brokerage account. Awesome. You can also call it a non-retirement account.
Mhm.
There are retirement accounts, and there's a few different kinds. And if you're saving for a goal that's further down the line, let's say retirement, then you want to make sure that you're saving into a retirement account. The best account would be a 401k that you have with your employer, a 403b, a TDA. And the reason why that's so powerful is that often in these accounts, you get a match. So you put
Correct.
$1 in, your employer puts $1 in. Okay, it's free money. Like, could you imagine? All right, so Emma, you're going to the bodega to get a sandwich, and the person behind says, okay, to tell you, this lottery ticket, I know what the winning number is. Do you want it? Like, yeah. Well, guess what? The 401k, the 403b, and those free matches, that's your lottery ticket.
Hmm.
It's your lottery ticket, and it's free money. And it's money that you are 100% entitled to. So, for saving for long term, particularly for retirement, max out those retirement dollars at work.
Perfect.
And you can put in, significant amounts of money into that. Now, if you are saving for something that maybe is not retirement focused, maybe it's college education for your children.
Well, before we go there, so that's for people who are employed. So for
Yep.
those that are self-employed, we have IRAs, SEP IRAs,
Yeah,
different ways,
exactly. So
different
I am
vehicles also.
self-employed now. I'm an S corp and I have about 16 employees. But the first retirement plan when I opened my business was what's called a SEP IRA. And what's so beautiful about a SEP IRA is that you can open one up in about 5 minutes.
Mhm,
There's no administration costs, and it's very simple. And you work with your accountant, and your accountant will know based on your earnings for that year how much you can put in.
mhm.
The other thing you can do, even as an individual business owner, or if you have one or two employees, is to actually open up a 401k.
Mm.
So you can do that as well. The only challenge is that there are some administrative costs that you have to have. And so if you're just you, I would say SEP IRA individual. But if you start to have employees, then you're probably going to be leaning to look at a 401k. But I'm glad you brought that up, Emma, because a lot of people feel like because I'm not a W-2 employee working for a corporation, that I don't have options. And what I have to say is that we, and I'm looking at you and I, and all other self-employed owner or business owners, we actually have better options because we can significantly fund more money into those retirement plans
Right.
than even that normal W-2 wage earner does.
That's right. Very good. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, go right ahead. So college funds.
Yeah, so college funds, you're not going to put it underneath um, your pillow. You're definitely not going to put it into that 401k either. You're going to open up a 529 plan. And the
Mhm,
reason why you want to do that is because all those earnings grow tax free. So if you start that plan out when your child is very young and it doubles, triples, quadruples, grows over time, whatever you take out is tax free as long as it's for bona fide education expenses such as tuition, living expenses, books, room, board, uh, computers. Also, there are many states, New York doesn't allow this, but many states also will allow you to use money from that to pay for K through 12 private school tuition.
Mm.
So that's another option. And you can put in up to $17,000 a year. The exemption limit this year for gifts to a minor or to anyone is 17,000. But there is a supercharge strategy where you can actually put 5 years worth of contributions in. And based on $17,000, if you were to super fund it for 5 years, you could actually put $85,000 in this year.
Wow. So if you want to take advantage of like a tax break this year, there you go. That's a great tip.
Yes, and you do save on taxes. So not all states, but most states allow you to deduct $10,000 of that contribution off of your state tax return. So it's a smart thing to do, but just remember when money goes in, it really needs to stay there because if you pull it out for things that are not qualified expenses, you have to pay all the taxes on the earnings. And then there's also a pretty stiff penalty,
Right. So you don't
10%.
want to use that as a tactic to save taxes or something else, and then planning on taking it out later, you're just going to shoot yourself on the foot. That has to be real
Exactly.
savings. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And then the final account is just a brokerage taxable account. And I have one of those too.
Mhm.
And I have used that account to save for a second home. So we opened one up, we started saving and saving and saving into that account, knowing that it was something that was going to be sooner. It was invested a little bit more conservatively, which we'll talk about investments next. But then we were able to then use that to buy our dream vacation home. And so it's for things that typically you need sooner, or maybe you've totally maxed out the amount that you can put into your retirement plan at work, and you are a unbelievable superhero saver and want to save elsewhere as well.
Lovely. Lovely. I love how you said all that. Good. Okay. So now we're going into different kinds of investments. So those are the basics of an emergency fund and some basic savings. And once you got that covered, now you're like pretty much ready to go into the bigger league of in the investment world outside of like you maxed out your basics, you're all set up, you have the security established. Now you can go have fun and grow your wealth.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And, for a lot of people, one of the things I'm hearing, Emma, is like, why don't I just put my money in that money market account that's
Mhm.
FDIC insured, getting 5% plus? Well, it's not a bad thing, but I have to say two things. Number one, while I'm so excited about that 5% plus return, it's not going to be like that forever. As soon as interest rates start to come down, we're going to see those rates come down too. And historically, we've seen returns of like 1%, maybe 2% if we're lucky. So, really creating a robust portfolio is very important. And case in point, while a money market has done well with 5%, the S&P 500, and I don't know how the market actually closed today because we're doing this interview while it's closing, but the S&P 500 is up around 20% this year so far. So, right, 5% is great, but I mean, I think we can all agree that 20% is better. So, what portfolio is right for you? And it really depends on what your risk tolerance is, which is a fancy way of saying when you open your statement and you see red, you see a loss. How do you react to that? Do you move to the side where I'm going to sell it all and go to cash? Or do you take that loss in stride and say, well, you know what? I'm a long term investor.
Mhm.
And so figuring out what that mixture of stocks and bonds is to number one, make sure that you feel comfortable and safe no matter what's happening to your portfolio. But the second piece is also making sure that you're filling in that gap. For everyone listening, you need to be planning for your portfolio to be growing out to age 95. One woman I talked to today, her grandfather just turned 100, her grandmother 99. For her, we need to plan out to 100 at least. And so, what does your portfolio need to do? What types of return does it need to post to make sure that you're able to get through all of those retirement years affording your expenses? The vast majority of our clients choose a portfolio that's called a moderate aggressive. It's like 70% stocks, 30% bonds. And what ends up happening as they get closer to retirement age, that 70% in stocks slowly goes down to 60% and then goes down maybe further to 50%. But I find, and this might shock a few people, that even our clients who are in their 80s, many of them still have like 50% in stock
Yeah.
because we're planning for another 15, even 20 years. And we can use their bonds to produce income. And when appropriate, sell an investment and reinvest the pieces and give all those wonderful gains that we've had, although that earning to the client. So, this is what I think is the most exciting part of really making your money work for you, not only in good times, but also making sure that it's invested in a way that will be there in bad times too.
I love that. Yes, very good. It's interesting because yes, that we're living so much longer nowadays that a third of our life is post-retirement, potentially if we're living to over 90. So that's a long time without having potentially regular income coming in, right? If we don't have
Yeah.
this plans in place. Very good.
Yeah, and
So
and
mhm,
those are all really important. I mean, of course, there's going to be Social Security, but for the vast majority of people, the portion of the Social Security that covers their ongoing expenses is pretty small.
yeah,
And so just relying on Social Security um, is not something that I would recommend. So again, making sure that your investments are working for you and that they're growing over time and at least growing by at least, a few percentage points above inflation is really important.
very nice. I guess that's a great tip. So how do partners get on the same page about all these things?
So one of the things I would say, because you're going to see too that in addition to maybe having differences about what makes you feel comfortable of how much you're spending or how much you need to save, most partners have different thresholds
Yes.
about what makes them feel comfortable with investing. So this is something to think about that it may be that one person's investment accounts are invested a little bit more aggressively, and the other person's investment accounts are invested maybe a little bit more conservatively because retirement accounts are going to have to be separate anyway. You're
Mm,
each going to have a retirement account in your own name. So that's a wonderful opportunity where your investment style, your investment mojo, whatever that is for you, you can have reflected in that account. And then the accounts that are joint accounts or brokerage accounts, you can talk about together of what that would look like. Um, but I would say one of the biggest pieces that I said was that four-letter word of talk. Talk is really important because coming together and being on the same page and making sure that you both feel comfortable and safe is absolutely imperative, especially when it comes to investing, because a lot of, I will tell you, the number of divorces I'm working on right now, I'm working on about 30 divorces. And not,
wow.
in fact, we have a lot of happily married couples. In fact, a lot of people hire us because we know what makes happily married couples, right?
Good, good. Yes.
But a good number, there has been money conflict because one of the partners invested extremely aggressively in one stock or
Mm,
maybe two stocks and lost the money.
oof.
And, you know, talking about conflicts in marriage, add that on top and you have
Yeah,
a
that's very
pot ready to boil over. And so, again, making sure that you're on the same page and that you're both in the know and you both understand and that you both feel like you have power, that you have say, that you're being recognized and you're being, really, really part of that decision is important.
that is so huge. So I would say that it starts with how we started this interview, even, right? So having a joint vision, like what do we want life to look like? What are we planning for? What kind of lifestyle? For how long? What kind of life do we want to have? I find that partners have different ideas of what they want out of life. Period. So one is saving for like this lavish life, the other one is saving for give it all away or whatever, right? So like very different goals too. So what are we working towards? How do we come up with something that's joint? It could be a combination of those things or whatever people come up with. But then also, okay, what are the mechanisms for making that happen? How do we get on the same page so we both have a say? So we're both informed, so we work together, so we're both in the know, in the how, we both have access, right? All of these different things. So at the end of the day, nobody's surprised and the house doesn't burn down.
What we found the secret was of, for me in particular, because I'm not the spender,
Mhm.
what needed to happen for me to feel safe. And I know that it feels odd to say feeling safe about money, but um, my grandmother was in an abusive marriage, and she ended up passing away because of this abuse. It
Mm.
became so violent. And for her, she shared before she died that she felt financially trapped. So for me, even though I'm married to what I think is the best man in the world, I have to have money in my name. I need to have a certain amount, and I need to know that we're on track financially,
Mm.
that we're going to be okay, that we can retire, that we've got extra cash in an emergency fund. I think because of the way I was raised, it's maybe PTSD, I'm not sure, but it scarred me. It scarred me so much that I became a financial advisor. And as long as we are on track for that savings goal each year, as long as we're hitting that,
Yeah.
as long as our emergency fund stays where it needs to be, is what then allows us to say, okay, you really don't need those new shoes, but if you want them, okay,
Right.
because we're on track. We've hit our savings goal already this year,
Right.
and I know we're going to be okay. So
Right.
again, kind of recognizing what each person needs and making sure that that happens. So you don't have to have that ongoing conversation, because
Yeah.
that the spending conversation is not good.
I know. It's
It can be
tiring.
it can be very tiring,
Mhm.
and that's often where we end up fighting, right? That's
Yeah.
where a lot of us in couples end up fighting, because we don't value what this other person has purchased, and we
Mhm.
maybe don't understand it, or vice versa. And
Absolutely.
so even before that, just like figure out what needs to happen to make you each feel like you're safe and you're secure.
Very nice. I love that. Would you recommend having separate accounts to maybe help deal with some of that? Because that could have come off his own account, then it's no skin off your back.
Yeah, no, I know actually, and that's what I would say.
Yeah.
I have my own accounts.
Right.
Not only do I have my own retirement account, I have a own separate account too. And we also have a joint account.
Yeah.
But so it's very healthy. It's interesting because when you talk to financial experts, some people will say have all your money joint,
Mm.
and some people will say have all your money separate.
Mm.
And then there's people like me where I like to find the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
and I find that having separate accounts for your own expenses, maybe super going and spending it on X or Y, that's great. But then we have a joint account that we both have full access to for
Right.
ongoing expenses, housing, things like that. So that
Perfect.
for us and for the vast majority of the clients that we work with is really fantastic. The challenge is that I've seen a few couples where the earnings in the couple is lopsided. And so what's going into the joint account might be very little. Nothing is going into the non-earning spouse's account, and the rest is going into the earning spouse's account in just their name.
Mm.
Um, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And so that's something that you can work through together, maybe talk to a therapist. You can figure out what, again, is going to allow you each to feel comfortable and safe. But I will tell you that those marriages where one person is literally keeping all the money in their name and then just siphoning little tiny bits into the joint account and not letting someone else have money in their name. Those are the people who will be eventually knocking on my door because there's going to be a divorce.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to happen.
It doesn't sound very balanced. I mean, the person who's making all the money might disagree with this.
Oh, they will disagree, and often it's because they're paying the bills, they're controlling the money. But I will tell you that again, if you are in any way excluding your spouse, your partner from knowledge about the finances, from access to the money and the finances, that is what's called financial abuse.
Wow.
And that's a pretty serious word, but that's what that is. And I will tell you, relationships like my grandmother's, where there was financial abuse, they don't last long. Or if they do last, they're unhappy like hers.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. That's huge. Something that I help couples with, and of course, I do not claim to be a financial advisor whatsoever, but just dealing with the relationship aspect of everything that you
Yeah,
just said. We create systems for contributing to the joint account together. If the other partner is a non-earner, then the money, it needs to be joint, and then you keep some, right?
yeah,
Or you keep, or there's a nice significant amount that covers everything. It's not dribbled, that covers everything, and the other partner has access to, right? So it's not like the one person that's making the money keeping it all under wraps. Most of our clients, both partners earn, and so they both contribute by percentages to their joint account, and they both have also their own separate money, so they could spend this discretionary spending however they like, and they don't run into problems with, I got an extra latte, or I got an extra haircut, or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah. So then there is the joint part there. There is transparency there. There's collaboration there. There is focus. There's the plan, the strategy, all these things are in place, plus independence, plus empowerment, and all the things. So then we bypass all of that conflict that could potentially come in and prevent abuse.
Yep, exactly.
Thank you for that,
Exactly.
Stacy. Super powerful.
I do find that couples who talk together, stay together, couples that are working together towards their financial goals really live longer, happier, healthier, more financially sound marriages as well. And what I would just say is that you have grace with each other and have patience with each other. Marriage is wonderful, but you're marrying someone because usually they're different than you. It'd be kind of boring to marry the same person. And so just realizing that they see the world, they see money, they see investing, savings, all of these things through different eyes. And I would just say, get curious about that. Put judgment aside and get curious because I know for me, I've learned so much from my husband. And thank God I married him because I've had some amazing life experiences because I'm his partner. And he's pushed me to do things that, like, I'm doing indoor skydiving now, Emma, like crazy. I would have never done that. I would have said, it's too expensive. I'm not doing indoor skydiving. But for him also, he's so appreciative because we have a beautifully stocked 401k, and he's going to be able to potentially retire sooner than he could have
Right.
had he not married me. So, everybody brings their unique gifts. And so just getting curious about, again, how they see the world, because it's through that curiosity you learn. And then you can start to see the world through those glasses that they have and understand it. And then, work together. And I think that's what's so exciting about relationships, of just constantly working together, learning.
We did marry our partner because they're so opposite us usually, or so different, and there was excitement and curiosity and all this awesomeness that comes from like, oh, that's different. That's cool. And then we want to change them and make them us. Like, no, let's continue to be in awe of the differences and use them and make more. My stuff, your stuff makes a bigger whole, more beautifulness in that
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, and,
Very
and I would
good.
just say the final thing is that you don't have to do this on your own. Emma, I know that you help a lot of couples through some of these really tough topics, and so making sure that you have your team. I know I personally couldn't do it on my own, right? And also, I will tell you that finding the right financial advisor that can talk about this. I mean, I don't think most advisors talk about money and marriage in maybe the same way I do. And that's actually, I think, something that we need to do. That's something that
Mm,
more financial advisors need to be more in touch with, in tune, to
beautiful.
help couples come to the same page. And you're there from the communication point of view to really help couples be on the same page. And for us, we can actually show what that page looks like with all the different scenarios that they might be interested in learning about so that they can have really good conversations. So finding
So
a good
good.
team, I think, is really important too.
Very good. And for the listeners, I highly recommend Stacy. She knows what she's talking about. She has an amazing business, an amazing firm. Her people take care of their people. So they do a really good job over there. Highly recommend her if you're looking for a planner to add to your team of supports and service providers. Stacy, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know that you have some gifts for us. Do you want to describe them quickly?
We sure do. We have some great gifts. So we have some great books for everyone, and I will drop the links in the show notes.
Yeah.
One is a fantastic link to a budgeting spreadsheet.
Mhm.
Another is also for people who are thinking about, or unfortunately going through a separation or a divorce, a link to a book to be able to have. And if you know of any widows, anyone who is on their own, I've also written a book to help during that first year and beyond to be able to get your finances in order. Some really good tools that you can have to just learn and get yourself in a good financial space.
Beautiful. So we'll definitely add those links. And we didn't talk about Savvy Lady. Any shout outs about that?
Yeah, so Savvy Ladies, I shared a little bit about my grandmother who was so special to me. As sad as her story was and is, it helped fuel some really good in the world. So I ended up creating a charity in her memory called Savvy Ladies, and we work with over 10,000 women each year, giving them financial education through hundreds of different courses. They're all free. You go to savvyladies.org, and savvy is with two V's because it's very, very good. Savvyladies.org. And not only will you see hundreds of different courses that you can take and educational programs, every topic about finance and more, we also have a helpline. And the helpline is the only helpline free of charge where you can go to our website. We also have an app. We match you with a certified financial planner that has an expertise in the area that you're asking about. And you get to work with them free of charge for an hour. It's it's pretty
Amazing.
amazing, I'll tell you, Emma. And it's a great way where you can bounce ideas off of someone, whether it's investing, savings, Social Security, emergency fund, credit card debt, even negotiating a job and understanding what those benefits are and how much those
Mm,
benefits really translate to in dollar terms. So just a fantastic tool. And again, there's there's no income check. Any woman who has a question, just ask and reach out. We want to help you. And that's what
ugh,
it's all about. So it's a 501c3. My grandma's smiling down, and she, I know, will be happy, happy. All of the people listening today, hopefully you can check out Savvy Ladies and make her memory live on by helping yourself and by helping other people.
so beautiful. You are magnificent.
Thank
You
you.
bring so much light into the world. I really appreciate you. You're beautiful.
Thank you,
Thank you
Emma.
so
And
much
I'm
for
so happy
being
to be
here.
here. Thank you.
My pleasure, my joy having you here today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time with us. And for the listeners, I will see you at the next one. Bye bye.